Hello! In today's video, we're going to talk about the most sensible and compassionate way to view psychopaths. So with everything going on in the news, with people like Epstein and the Epstein files, with people, doing crazy stuff, with dictators being, taken out of their country and brought to America, and just all the things that seem crazy going on in the world, whatever side of the political spectrum or spiritual sides you're on, is irrelevant. And so, we're going to talk about the most sensible way and the most compassionate way to view psychopaths. So I had a conversation with a friend recently, and we were talking about this very thing. Talking about psychopaths, and I was talking about the way I view them. So I have schizoaffective, and I know before it was treated, I affected the people around me negatively. And when it was treated, I'm able to be a responsible, college educated, working member of society who is able to have loving relationship with his partner, who's able to have friendships that are wonderful, who's able to, connect with his family and be a part of the world. All due to the advent of medicine. So what does that tell us? What does that tell us? That I think the way we need to view psychopaths, right? And let's say there's someone doing terrible things. All right, he's a serial graper. And I know this is a touchy subject, so I just want everyone to bear in mind, right? If this is uncomfortable for anyone, you can just click off the video. Or rather your well-being be taken care of, then you get triggered, especially if it's like a sensitive where you got trauma or something. So so I think what we need to recognize, right, is that psychopaths, people who can't experience empathy and understand the emotions and feelings of others, who don't have those that moral compass inscribed in their heart, that's not their fault. That's not their fault. So when we look at them and we look at the horrendous deeds that they do, from killings to grape to all this, we need to look at it and be like, that's a disease. And that person is unfortunately plagued with a disease, a malady of the brain. They can't experience empathy, and so they're not able to properly, conduct themselves in a civil society and be empathetic. And that's not their fault. Now, given that modern science does not have, suppose, right? I'll give you a hypothetical thought experiment. Suppose we had a pill, right? You're the judge. You're the judge, and in this situation, someone has committed a terrible crime. They have attacked and assaulted a family member or of someone you know, or someone you don't know, and the judge on the one hand, right, here's the psychopath and the lawyer defending them on one side, and the lawyer says to the judge, you're the judge, and the lawyer says, hey, science has now 100% cure of a surgery that allows them to have empathy, regulate their emotions in interpersonal relationships, just like a normal, well-adjusted person. This judge is just a sick person, right? They're mentally unwell, because whatever genetics in an unfortunate situation, they have this, and now there's a cure. And then on the other side is a family who their son was assaulted by this psychopath. And so now you have some things. On the one hand, you know scientifically that this person was not born with the same neurological hardware that allows for empathy and proper love and social regulation. And so he made a bad decision on the basis of that, and he assaulted someone. And on the other hand, you have a family that's been affected by this person's wrongdoing. And you wonder to yourself, what do I do? Do I let him off and just get him the surgery and put him back in society? Right? He's a sick person who just needs wellness. What or do I empathize with the pain and the hurt and the feeling of injustice present in that family and punish this person, even though they made that decision on the basis of some faulty hardware, some faulty neurological hardware? This is going to be a prominent question in my view. All right, I told the friend when I had this conversation, this is my belief, that one day there will be a cure for psychopathy. And if there were, I don't know what I would do if I was the judge in that situation. For this man, similar to my situation with schizoaffective, had faulty hardware. And so, if he were given the proper treatment, he could, empathize with others and connect and be a normal, well-adjusted member of society, less aggressive, and be able to connect with people. On the other hand, he harmed others. And if we allow, even if we assume that he is not responsible for harming others because of his faulty brain, if we let other people harm people in society, then it gives a permission slip to commit those crimes. So it's a tough situation. It's a tough situation to be in. On the one hand, we have a total solution and a cure. We could give this man the pill or the surgery that solves his psychopathy. He can now empathize and feel other people's feelings and feel all the remorse and guilt for what he did. And on the other hand, that family is still grieving and experiencing pain for the damages that were caused. So, what do we do? Right now, there is from the research that I did, there is no cure to psychopathy. Yet, I think it's pretty clear, at least in my understanding, and I could be wrong, that psychopathy is a neurological disorder, or antisocial personality disorder, as I think it is based in neurology. Their amygdala and their ability in other parts of the brain that deal with empathy are just not functional. They can't empathize. They can't feel your sorrows and rejoice in your joys. So what do we do? What do we do? In today's society, what we do is if that situation were poised in today's society and I were the judge, here's what I would feel and think. I would feel sadness, and I would hope and I would pray that one day the cure comes out, right? And I would punish the man by either putting him in jail or giving some punishment that is fitting of the assault he committed. And I would remove him from society because there is no current way to solve the problem. If you can't have empathy and proper social, like proper empathy and understanding of other people's feelings, then he can't function within a civil society, in a safe society. So we must put him away, or we must punish him in some way to disincentivize other people from committing assault. And on the same hand, I would not feel hate for that man. I would empathize and grieve with the family that was assaulted. I would presumably help them in some way, or as the judge, I would make sure they feel understood and recognized and loved because they were wronged. And at the same time, I would feel compassion for as I sent him to jail internally. Although externally, because there is no current cure, I would send the psychopath to jail as the judge. Internally, I would feel sadness and compassion for that psychopath, for he's the bearer of bad fortune. He wasn't born with the proper empathic circuits, and he wasn't socially trained on how to almost fake it till he makes it to adjust to a civil society. And so, in my older years, what I would do as the judge is I would invest in charities and organizations that did research to help these kind of people, because it would solve two problems. It would if we solved psychopathy, it would reduce the number of those grieving families. Those grieving families wouldn't have to grieve or feel the pain anymore because they wouldn't be affected, because those people wouldn't commit the crimes. So it would help them. And it'd also give a chance for the psychopaths to experience empathy and love. What a miserable existence if you couldn't feel empathy and love. If you couldn't feel the joy of friendship and rejoicing in the successes of your friends. If you couldn't, if you couldn't intimately love your partner and comfort them and love them deeply. What a miserable existence that would be. And it's just a shame that in today's time, until there is a cure, we have to put them away. But I think society, when it comes to psychopaths, now this isn't to say the families, right, should just swallow their pain and totally, just disregard it and all that. But I think leaning on the side of compassion and also wise discernment is probably the best way forward. Recognize that these psychopaths, they may not be the assholes or terrible, we don't have to harbor the hate for them. I think we can have compassion and be like, man, you're unfortunate, brother. It's unfortunate you're in this situation. And then still, as the judges or as the police officers, we have to put them in jail. To keep the society safe, we have to do our duty. And at the same time, internally, we can hold that compassion and be like, I'm sorry you had to be the one to get it. To get the, faulty empathy and all that. And so I hope this shines a light. That in the same way that schizoaffective now has amazing medications like Invega Sustaina that allow me to go from dysfunctional at 18 to totally functional and normal, able to live a happy and joyous life and connect with others again. Or the same way that any condition, right? What's a good condition to use here? the same way that we wouldn't blame and get mad at the cancer patient for having cancer. We'd hate the cancer. We'd love the person. We'd love them and support them through their journey. And it was just a bad stroke of luck that they got that sickness. That same way we'd view psychopaths. We'd have the wise discernment until the cure is found to lock them up and keep our children and people and human beings safe, in society. But we'd hate not the psychopath, not the once innocent child who was born with defects in their empathic circuits that don't allow them to love and relate the same way we do. We'd hate the psychopathy and the problem that hopefully one day gets solved, and we'd take the appropriate action in keeping our people safe. So I know this is not like a lot of not like of what you see now, where we chastise and scold and shame, and it's not a defense for any of their terrible actions. And it's not to say we shouldn't have even self-defense. If a psychopath breaks into your house and you have to, keep your family safe and shoot them, right? Then that's what you have to do to keep your family safe. That is the appropriate duty in action. But you don't have to harbor the hate internally. Because on the other end was once an innocent child, born with defects that led him down the wrong path. And we can pray that one day we can all enjoy what it's like to love one another, to empathize, and to be happy. I hope you guys enjoy. God bless. Have a wonderful day.